So as far as practice, today's going to be a full pads practice. Players that'll be out for today, Xavier Crawford with a groin. That was in practice yesterday, and then Tease Tabor with a hamstring in practice yesterday. So those would be the only changes of being out. We have our load management day today with Jimmy Graham, Akeem Hicks, and Khalil Mack for load management. Back in will be Iggy and Javon Wims will be back today. So, like I said, it'll be pads today, and then tomorrow we'll have pads as well. And tomorrow should be a good little practice for us too. So get going with that. So go ahead and fire away.
Have you guys decided the quarterback rotation for Saturday?
Yeah, so we're going to start Justin for that game, and I think it's going to be a good opportunity for him. And then, we'll be selective across the board for the other players as we go. But you're going to see a direction more of kind of like the old school fourth preseason game for that. Then just kind of new for all of us, but that's where we're at as a staff and where I'm at too. So
Andy will not play?
Not play.
And how much for Justin?
I'm thinking probably 2 quarters.
Will that be with your starters?
Some, but not all of them.
Offensive line,
Yeah, so we're I think probably big picture is we're thinking that's where the starters will come in at, will be that offensive line. When you talk about the quote-unquote ones, and even with that, we got to be able to see where some of those guys are at the tackle position, just getting back into things, so we'll keep an eye on that.
will his performance have no impact on week 1 starter at quarterback?
Well, again, for us, it's all about him just getting better. So we just want to see him play hard and play well, and the variables are different, right? He's not out there with, just like Andy hasn't been out there with some of those one receivers. So all I want to see from him is just play a good game of football at the quarterback position, and again, keep the big picture in mind for all of us.
But Andy's not playing because Andy's your week 1 starter.
Correct. Yep.
Matt, how much of your offense have you held back, not put on tape the first 2 weeks? I'm asking you specifics, and how much might that be limiting the quarterback play a little bit?
Yeah, so there's maybe some, without getting into that, but I think that's probably every team right now in the NFL. So that's part. When I say the variables, that's part of the variables in all 3 phases. I mean, I think special teams hub is probably more about substitutions and the players that you have and don't have. And then offense and defense, you see it throughout the league that right now there's a lot of very vanilla schemes going on across the league. So, yeah.
Right, but with what you're holding back, could that be messing with the rhythm a little bit too that you're looking for?
Probably a little bit. At least I think so, but you never know. It's the rhythm for us is offensively being able to get more first downs and eliminate penalties, and so that's where I think even with the second group out there, there's still penalties, there's still mistakes, and they're all learning. So all of that said, I think that's where, as coaches, we got to make sure that we stay even keel with the 2 highs of doing well in preseason or the 2 lows of not doing well.
And do you know if Fields will be going against the Titans ones?
I don't know that.
I mean, does that matter to you?
I don't know. No, it's whatever they decide to do. Again, I don't know if there's a recipe for coaches around the NFL right now and what they're doing. I think they're all different. I have not talked to Coach Rabes yet about that, so we're not really focusing on that because that's their own deal. We're going to focus on us, and that's the way we're going to attack it.
Matt, did some of the injuries you guys have had this summer alter at all what you maybe thought this final preseason game would look like?
Probably a little bit. Where I would say it did it is more so of the first and/or second preseason game, and it probably affected some of that with making sure that fine line that you don't re-injure somebody, especially the soft tissue stuff. That's the stuff that scares me, and I know it scares a lot of people. As you get that soft tissue, then you're talking 2, 3, 4 weeks, and that's where there's a balance. So we got to be, even with the guys that are playing this week, we got to make sure that we're smart with how much they play and keep an eye on them.
Matt, with Justin Fields starting on Saturday, will you start to use him more today and tomorrow with more of the ones? I know you've done some of it, but will you do more of it in the next couple?
A little bit with more player specific, but again, we're still dealing with some numbers right now too. Even today, with where we're at volume wise of what we can do. that's probably been the biggest juggling act for us as a staff, is when you get to this part of camp, we got some guys, it's normal, but we got some guys that are out for different reasons, and it limits you on what all you can do. So the volume, even today, you'll notice the volume of how much we do isn't there as much as it might have been 2 weeks ago. But we'll try to get him some throws. I think the easiest way to do it is probably with some of the wide receivers and tight ends. But other than that, we're just going to go ahead, and I think it's very important too. The other way to look at it is in practice when you're watching, is to keep an eye on like the starters on offense, and because there hasn't been a lot of that either in preseason. Keeping an eye on how that goes with Andy, with the starters, and the timing with those wide receivers. You know, with the A-Rob, the Mooney, and you know, Goodwin.
Now, after this week, when you guys kind of shift full time into, Andy playing the ones, how does Justin, not only the 2 weeks before the season starts, but once the season does begin, because he obviously wants to compete for the opportunity, how can he do that?
Sure. No, that's something that we've all talked about as a quarterback room. Myself, Coach Flip, Bill Laser, Justin. We've talked about that process, and the one thing that I'll say about Justin is he completely understands it. I mean, just the support that he has in this plan, and the support that he has for Andy is pretty neat. And I think you all saw it this weekend with his support for Andy. And some of the comments that he made, that's not made up. Like, that's real for where he's at. And when you have a healthy quarterback room and you got a guy like Andy that's supporting him, and vice versa, he trusts in the plan and he understands it. So heading into whatever game it is, always staying prepared. You have to prepare as if you're the starter. And then when you are the starter, there's no change. And Justin is locked in. This kid is very focused. He's all in. He's selfless. He's doing really, really well right now, and we like where he's at.
So does that mean that his next opportunity, Justin's next opportunity, will be solely based on Andy's performance?
We'll see, but I would say, yeah, big picture, when we talk about this, from the very start, we said whoever's going to be best for the Chicago Bears, and that's going to obviously deal with productions and wins, right? So I think when you look at this thing, you want to make sure that we all support each other with one common goal: to win and offensively to score touchdowns. And Andy knows that. Andy is well aware of that. Andy's excited for the opportunity to show what he can do with these starters and in this offense. And then we have to, every day, we have to evaluate, and we have to be able to see where we're at every single day.
Can I ask you, will you be evaluating Andy on a game-by-game basis, a quarterly basis? We do like 4-game segments?
We're evaluating every one of these players every day, every game, not just Andy, and it gets magnified because of the quarterback position and because of Justin, but it's the same thing at every position. So we again, as long as we're open and honest in this thing, and Andy knows that we want to win, we want to score a lot of points, we want to be smart with the football, and he's a leader, and he's done that, and he's worked hard throughout this whole OTAs and training camp to get to this point right now, to take us into week 1. And everyone has done their job. That's the part that I like, that I don't want to lose sight in, is that we ask those quarterbacks to come in here and do everything you can to make us feel good that why you're in this quarterback room. And they've all done that, Nick included. So to me, I look at it like, man, isn't this a great situation that we're in right now? And when you look at it that way and you understand, you got guys that are all supporting each other, you got guys that are just playing great at the quarterback position. Now you got to take it into the games, and you got to produce. You have to produce, and we all have to produce. So that's part of the evaluation process. That's part of us understanding that, okay, here's where we're at. Now here come the live bullets, and where are we going to be at?
Man, where do you set the bar on that? I mean, is it just wins? Is it quarterback performance, offensive performance? What,
Again, I think to me, Mark, it's more of a feel where you're at. And what are the whys, right? What are the whys? And so when we all understand what the whys are, whatever that is, and it doesn't just have to be offense too, right? If you're winning or losing, why are you winning or losing? And once you get into that, that's our job, that's my job as a head coach, to be a decision maker.
a lot of times in these things, like with the Glennon thing here before you got here, he failed. The offense failed, and that set the stage for Mitch. But is it possible that Andy could actually be playing fairly well, but you just feel better about Fields and make a switch, or?
Again, it all comes down to the whys. It all does. I mean, it's a feel thing, and we just feel really good about our quarterback room right now. I know that. We feel really good. And that's a credit to these players that are in that room. It's a credit to our coaches that are coaching them. And now, when we get an opportunity, week one, now we just got to, as a unit, as a team, all three phases, we got to put it together and go play Chicago Bear football.
Matt, you talked about
I'll come back.
you talked about Justin's readiness being a part of the plan as well. So when you get into the regular season and Andy's playing in the games, how do you evaluate whether Justin is ready without seeing him in?
Well, Justin's done that. Again, part of the evaluation process that you say to yourself, where did you think Justin was going to be through training camp? And is he where you thought? Is it a little bit better? Is it a little bit worse? And we feel really good with where he's at. I would say for sure that for his level of where a lot of rookies are at this point in time, he's passed that test. You see what I'm saying? So that's a good thing. So we know that. But now it's just growth for every one of these quarterbacks, Justin included, is everybody has a different story on how they get to the top, right? Every quarterback in this league has a different story. And there's good examples of guys that have played from day one as a rookie, right? There's great examples of that. There's also great examples of guys that haven't played day one, and they've sat a little bit. And talking about guys right now in the league and talking about guys 10 years ago. So we have to create our own of how we do that. And the only thing we can do is worry about having those guys just continue to just fight every day and just be awesome in practice. Mentally be smart and be productive and always be prepared. And that's one thing with those three guys, they will always be prepared. So that's how we look at it.
Yeah, with a lot of these exciting rookie quarterbacks who don't have the job yet, especially athletic ones like Justin, put together a package each week, a couple plays to get them some experience, maybe help the offense. Is that something you'll be looking at with Justin?
It's something that I don't know.
Matt, I know you said you want to see Justin play hard and smart this week, but what are you looking for to see that growth has happened through training camp and setting him up to continue that in the regular season? Yeah,
just the way he prepares, I think, when we're at practice, the way that he asks questions when we're watching tape, the way that he asks questions in front of the players in a meeting, right? And just how he continues to build relationships with some of our starters too. I can give you a little funny story. Yesterday at lunchtime, one of the plays we ran yesterday, we had Jimmy on a linebacker, and usually that's a pretty good matchup with Jimmy out there one-on-one. I think all of us would maybe throw him the ball, and one high safety, and Justin was out there, and he went the other way. He didn't throw it to him. So in the middle of practice, Jimmy came over to me, and he's like, he told me, he said, hey man, when I'm over there, you give me that ball, you throw me the ball. And so when we were in meetings yesterday, we were telling the quarterbacks, hey, listen now, guys, you got a guy at tight end now that he wants that ball. When you got number 57 on him, he wants that ball. And so the quarterbacks took it in, and they were just kind of – so we get to dinner last night, and Jimmy and Justin are crossing paths, and Justin walks by and tells Jimmy, he says something to him of the fact, he's like, hey, man, when you're out there, you got to get open. And Jimmy just looked at him and was just like, this little young buck just telling me to get open? And Justin just walked away and just had the biggest grin on his face as he said it. So like that kind of stuff, you build that rapport. But, Justin is doing that. And now when he gets with a guy like that, Justin knows, okay, now I just learned. I'm going to give him a chance. When he's covered, he's uncovered. And so like those are the little stepping stones that you build rapport with those guys. And it's like that with Andy too and Nick. So, I mean, that's kind of where we're growing. All right. Thanks.